What I have seen from my time in college till now is there are many smart people, but they're often invisible because they're not able to communicate, or they're not able to be visible in front of my eyes or everyone's eyes. So knowing something is a very different thing, and knowing how to capitalize it and explaining it is a very different thing. I'll tell you that. Because see, if you're having knowledge with you, right, and you feel that you are smart in a room, but your smartness is not being appreciated, at the end of the day, the way you market yourself, or the way people remember you, will have more impact than the way you think that you are smart about yourself. It's better than being a narcissist, obviously. So this happens because usually in our school time, what we do is our answers, or whatever you could say, our performance in class while the lecturer or the teacher is teaching us, it depends on that. The communication depends on that. Because if you know the topper students of your class, for example, someone who scores 90, who we so call the teacher's pet, right? The only difference between them and you is, even if you have the same intelligence level, is that they're able to communicate and they're able to explain the answer which is there in their mind. And that is the biggest thing that will change in their lives as well. Because once they have capitalized and they have learned the way to express themselves, whatever they are thinking, they will always have an advantage over us. I would say I would include it myself as well. Before this podcast, I was not able to communicate well. I was introverted in whole of my life. Like, I was introverted in my whole life. In my school days, during COVID days as well. It was in my engineering that I started to come out of my shell and I started to explore new opportunities in public speaking, or you could say this podcasting thing. But you don't need to do that. You certainly don't need to open a YouTube channel or do content creation. There are few steps, or there are few ways in your psychology that you can change and actually be a better communicator. And don't think that you're not smart. You are definitely smart. It's just that you're not able to express it, in my opinion. And life will definitely reward with the articulation you have. You will be snatching opportunities in life from the people who are already having it. Someone on the same intelligence level as you will get selected if you don't have the articulation level and they have the articulation level, because they're able to communicate their ideas with the people around them. And the confidence when people speak on stage, or when they speak with different people, they exert this kind of confidence they have. Speaking is not about confidence always. And I was very much wronged by this notion. I used to always think that communication was always about confidence. It is definitely a part of communication, but I wouldn't say that even if you don't have confidence, you will still be able to speak well, because there are a few factors which depend more than the confidence which you have while speaking. And what I believe is, communication doesn't come from confidence. It comes from the more of the clarity of the thought which you're having in your mind. The mind and the connection of your muscle of the mouth. Whether you're able to articulate whatever you're thinking in this particular instant right away. This is how your communication builds, right? Knowing feels different from understanding. I'm telling you that an apple is red in color. It's obviously understandable because you have seen from your eyes that apple is red in color. Now, when you're trying to answer someone that apple is in green color, you obviously don't know that green apples exist, because your thinking was around that apples are only in red color. Now that leads to a break, or you could say a break in the bridge between your mind and the knowledge you had. So now you're forced to defend your point that there are only red apples existing. And because of that, you start to speak blabber. You try to defend every single thing of it, only to know later on that both the apples exist. It's just that your knowledge was not on point. So, first of all, you should understand whatever you're speaking about, because that plays a major role. And as I said about the apples, so information creates a sense of competence in you, but that is all an illusion. Now, you might know everything about everything about every single thing. But when you're coming to explain it, you can just explain it on a surface level. You can just speak one line about it, but you're not able to give a whole TED talk or a whole presentation about it for 1 hour. You know why that happens? Especially in today's internet age, where an average person watches 150 to 200 reels. Now, if I were to ask you, what did you watch 2 hours back on your Instagram feed? Will you remember that? Obviously, when I don't remember that. But I do certainly know that I had picked my phone and watched something, because our mind is crowded with over information. And this information mostly lies where it is not useful for your life. Honestly speaking, you don't need to know what this actor has done today, or how much net worth of Elon Musk has grown. It is none of your business, honestly speaking. Well, unless if you're in finance sector. But yeah, barring a few things, I feel that most of the information we consume, like around 95%, it's all BS, nothing more than that. So, coming back to why smart people struggle to communicate, one thing is the information which you know inside your head and which you're speaking out. There's a huge difference. Now, that huge difference is because you're not explaining the concepts. For example, if you're supposed to speak on this water bottle right here, I would say that this water bottle is blue in color. It has a white cap. It can store 750 ml of water. The water can stay cool up to 40 minutes, and so on and so forth. You see, on the spot, I made a conversation about this. Now, the more you practice this kind of habit, where you're explaining things, that is where your gap in communication will improve. That is where whenever this mic is there in front of you, or you are told to speak in front of a so-called people or your team, you will be able to do it comfortably, because you know that inside that I can explain things, right? And for the people who are in tech industry or who are going for jobs as well, any sector, interviews reveal this fact brutally, that you are not able to explain certain things because you are unaware of the information, first of all. So, even if you're aware about it, you haven't practiced speaking it or making it understand others. Even if you're speaking about something, most of the times it is that you're speaking just to prove your point, not to make others understand your point. And that's when impact happens. That's when this bridge happens, actually. And as I told earlier as well, if you have this much intelligence, but you're not able to express it in front of anyone, your IQ might be high, but in front of other people, you are dumb because you are not visible. Visibility is important. Even right now, this is my 12th episode and my second solo episode. When I recorded my first solo episode, I couldn't speak for 5 minutes straight. Literally. I was so stunned that now I'm able to do an episode, or I can speak on topics for 30 minutes long. It is insane. And you know why that has happened? Because I am having the art of practicing in front of camera, practicing in front of public. The public speaking challenge, the reps of 50 days, that has helped it here. So now, whatever I'm sharing, I'm able to share it because I'm being visible with my art. Even though it is not perfect, it might not be a perfect setup, it might not be perfect, right? It might not be ideal, as you say, in terms of the social media norms. But still, if you're visible with your art, there will be someone or the other who will respect you and your efforts as well. So that's where you can bridge the gap between I know the answer, but I can't explain it. Second problem, actually contradicting that. It's not a problem. Communication is not a problem among people. It's not the problem that you don't know English, because most of the times it's not a language issue. A person might know many languages. It's usually about what they're thinking inside, and what they're thinking is not being articulated. So, the water bottle example which I gave earlier, it was very random. I took the bottle, I saw the color, I saw the cap, I saw the 750 ml marking here, and I drank the cold water few minutes back. So I was able to speak about it. I made a story out of this bottle. It's the same thing which you can do with things when you're speaking about something or when you're explaining something. Most of the times, our thoughts, whatever we are having, it's in these bits and pieces surrounded around us. You're getting it? It's the bits and pieces surrounded around us. It's our job to make these bits and pieces together in one sentence. That is the thing which we need to do here. And to do that, we need to organize our ideas first. Majority of the problem with the people is that they don't have their ideas organized. It is split into random things. They don't know how to get it back together. And it's a thing which can be learned. Speaking is a skill which is not from inside, nor it is a genetic skill. As I said, I was an introverted person, but now this Daksh Mavani is different because of these two things. My ideas are organized, and my thoughts, they don't exist as fragments. They exist as a story in my head. The ideas also which I have, the now I'm speaking as well. I might be seeing outlines here, but in my mind I'm framing ideas around that story, a particular point, and I'm speaking about it. And the more you speak, the more it reveals your state of mind. You might beat around the bush every single time. You might seem smart in your head. You might sound smart. But if there is a person who is on same intelligence as you, he will catch you immediately. He will tell you that, boss, you did not tell the main point. You just bet the push. For example, this water bottle. I could just say about this that um this can be red in color, or this can have 1 liter thing in it, 1 liter water in it. We can store Coke inside it. Or we could just keep it on the table. You see what I did there? I did not tell anything about the blue bottle, but I told everything around it. That is what is beating around the bush. And that is what reveals your mental state of mind while speaking as well. How much clarity do you have on a particular topic, on a particular idea which you're sharing with the other people? And if you're not able to communicate that, that poor confidence which is sitting in the corner, that gets blamed. It's a poor thing. Confidence has nothing to do with this, because it's mostly that clarity is missing. And to build that clarity, you need to build expertise in the topic. You might not know 100%. Accept the fact. Even I don't know 100% about communication. Yet I'm speaking about it because I have lived those experiences. And I have lived them enough that I am able to articulate it. If you'll ask me to say every single 50-day of the public speaking challenge I did, I will definitely tell that, because that's an experience I had. Now I have clarity. I might do better next time, but now I'm having clarity on what I did the 50 days. So, most likely, just summarizing my point, most people don't have a communication problem. They have a clarity problem, a thinking problem, a organization of thoughts problem. Work on that, and that would be good. And bridging the next point, to build clarity of thoughts, or to build the ideas, all these splittered dots connected into one particular thing, bridging it. Best single advice: books. Books change the way how I think. 100%. Because books might not have made me smarter, although I read nonfiction, so I have some information. Again, no information is complete unless you have spent hours into it. And they say that you require 10,000 hours to master one particular thing. Now, obviously, that is not possible for everyone. Everyone wants quick results, right? I wouldn't say spend 10,000 hours, but I would say spend 100 hours because sustained effort over time is far, far greater than the motivational push you will have. And that's what happened with me. I started with Atomic Habits. That was my first ever book in 11th class. Very excited to read it. Oh, I was highlighting every single thing. Do you want me to get that book? You know what? I'll get that book for you. Just give me 1 minute. This was my first book. So, this was my first book which I got in 11th grade. And I'll just open a page for you. See this. I hope you're able to see this notes. Just let me check if you're able to see this. Able to, yeah, you're able to see this now. See. So, I made these sticky notes kind of thing. I made these sticky notes and I did a lot of highlighting, guys. You see, again, I made these notes again. And you see, highlighting. I did that. Now, you know what the problem is? The problem is that this was my first time reading the book. And I did not know what to read in the book. I was highlighting everything, everything noting down like a cute, pretty journal. But sorry to say, that did not work at all. It just fed my ego that I am far better than others. It gave me superiority complex that I read books, the other person doesn't, hence he is dumb. That is not the case. And coming back to the point, so how did I start reading books properly then? We'll speak on that later. But the first thing which I want to tell you is books have structured ideas in them because they have been through so many edits, you could say, that it comes to us in a finished piece of text, paragraph by paragraph, word by word, every sentence made to make us think that this is the perfect thing you have read. And what that happens is that influences your brain. That influences your brain to follow the same phrases as well. That's how your ideas get organized. That's how your thoughts have clarity. And the more clarity you get, innately, you will be able to speak in the similar way itself. And Atomic Habits is one of the great examples of how habits are built. But moreover, that was not what I learned from it. I learned the fact that how different people think. A person's 50 years of experience can be summarized in one book or probably multiple books. But it's better than spending those 50 years again, reliving those experiences without any guidance. As I had covered earlier, we know that in a book there's a structured writing, so we know how to create structure from books. We know how different analogies are used. For example, I just picked up this water bottle. You have seen me doing this thrice right now because that's the only prop I can explain right now. So you see, now whenever you are referring to someone else, you will be referring to this water bottle analogy if possible, because you have seen one person do it. You learn different ways to express one single thought of yours. It gives you an edge over the mediocrity of the people around you in the way they think. And that's how you seem different, and that's how you become different in terms of speaking. And to speak different, you need to think different. And to think different, you need to consume the content which is different, which is something irrational for other people, but it helps you out. And obviously, one more thing is reading is has become such a habit that it gives you mental exposure. It makes you feel that you have consumed so much information that is not visible in the people around you because that is not the circle of your people. Summarizing what I told, books change the way how I think, and I believe this was the best segment of the podcast till now because books have the power to change worlds. The change starts within you, and to start the change within you, books are the first step. For me, it has worked tremendously. Now, as I told, reading Atomic Habits made me get the superiority complex that other people don't read, hence I'm smarter. That is definitely not true. There are many people in this world who read fiction books as well. So does that mean that they are smarter than you? Obviously not. Tada! No, no, no. But what I want to tell you is, see, many women they tend to read fiction books. Many men tend to read non-fiction books. Or vice versa. Nobody cares which gender you are, what books you are reading. But there is one thing which I care about. That is, are you able to process what you read? Because you might end up making a pretty journal like this, which is not useful in the future for you because you have not started to implement it, because you have not started to process information in such a way that it is useful in your own life. Reading is not the metric, the intention is also not the metric. The action which you are taking through reading the book is the metric of how you are able to improve your communication, or how you're able to actually be smart rather than seeming smart. Because, first of all, few people read, as I told. And one more thing which brings clarity in all of these topics is writing. Many people don't write. It's like I'll give you a number, random number. If out of 90%, 10% people are reading books, there are only 3% of people who are writing about themselves, who are writing something, who are writing in a blank page. You know how powerful that is, to just feel that you are able to articulate every single thing on the blank page you're feeling. You're able to get the emotions out on the paper. A paper has no value, a book has no value, but the text on it, the emotion which it invokes inside you, that is what is valuable. And that is what is valuable in your relationships, which you will build through the communications which you are doing with people. And this is such an important thing no one teaches you. Obviously, if you're on YouTube doing self improvement and etc., you will get to know about it. But trust me, how many people know about it? I bet even many people who are watching this podcast might not know about this part, the writing part, how it actually changes inside you. And thinking happens through engagement. Now, engagement in what sense? It's not like, I'm speaking to you and you're also lively speaking to me. I'm just blabbering out of my mouth. I'm yapping, you could say, on some information. But engagement is something which I'm speaking right on, but my mind is getting those dopamine hits when I'm speaking. Or when I'm writing the journal, I could just write my heart out that I went through a breakup, or how when I was answering this certain question in class, I was applauded by the faculty, or how this exam today I wrote made me relieved from every single thing. That's the kind of emotion you evoke from your writing or from the way you read things. And that's how your thinking also comes into the picture. And if these three things are pinch perfect, no one can stop you from being smart. Guaranteed. As I had mentioned earlier as well, in the few points, that reading alone will not make you the person where you want to be. There is this term called as mental masturbation, where you are consuming so much content about you being better, this warrior mindset, or how to speak. You're watching the Steve Jobs keynote session of the first iPod. None of that will work. You know why? Because you're not implementing things. And at the end of the day, intentions don't matter. Your actions determine your intentions. And that is the proof of work which you need to give to yourself to build the confidence and build for other people as well to trust in you, so that you become a bankable person. Right. So, summarizing it, reading is not the advantage. It's the way you process what you read is the advantage which you gain throughout reading. And many people think that communication is something that all whatever you know is about clarity. I myself spoke about clarity a lot in the past few minutes. But communication is the clarity, definitely. But how you are able to get that clarity out of your mouth. Communication is all about thinking out loud. You see, I'm thinking something and it is coming out of my mouth instantly. I have not stopped for the past 20 or 25 minutes, how much ever the duration is. It's all a single take thing. You know why? Because I'm able to think out loud with clarity. I'm not blabbering. Because speaking is visible thinking. Speaking determines your mental chaos, as we had mentioned earlier, right? It determines your state of mind and your clarity of the concepts which you're speaking about. And there's one more point. Not everyone who communicates raps in English. No kidding. No one just goes on to be like this and do like that and so on and so forth, but still they are not able to do that. You did not understand anything, right? This is the thing. Good communicators aren't fast. They are the people who invoke a emotion inside you. I speak about emotion a lot because emotion is a thing which differs, which differences humans from robots. And whenever we are communicating, we are not communicating with robots or we are not telling them orders. We are speaking with a human who has EQ and IQ to measure what we are speaking. So obviously, we need to speak in that certain way itself, right? And the communicators, you could say, or the people who speak, who seem smart when they speak. The one thing which they've perfected is they think that their thoughts are organized. We spoke about this earlier as well. That reading structures your thought, the clarity, the perception of what you think, and the mental chaos which you come out of. And that's it. I'll not be focusing more on ants. So, yeah, most importantly, good communicators are organized in the way they think, they're organized in the way they speak. Before speaking out, already in their mind, there is all calculations done of what is going to come out of their mouth. And that only happens through the consumption and practicing of that consumption, right? And most importantly, I'll give you one more example. There's a challenge on YouTube. Can a blindfold person walk straight? And to your surprise, you will not believe the blindfolded persons, even if they walk for 1 hour, they would again return back to the point where they started. And you know why I took that reference or why I took that analogy? Because good communicators are not blindfolded. They have a goal in their mind, they know what is the end point, and they bring their thoughts in such a way where it is structured and layered to be there. It is destined to go through that journey and stay there. Simple example, in your mind, you know that you want to express a thought and you have a path inside it. That's why now you have a guiding factor with you. You have a compass. That compass is important while you're communicating because that compass will guide you towards the ideas on that destination. And good communicators simplify complexity. I'm learning this. I still believe that I am a complex speaker. I'm not a simple speaker. Even throughout this whole conversation, which I've had till now, I might have said so many complex things, it might have gone over your head. It's a way where you are the student of this particular skill in your whole lifetime. It is, it is all, it comes through more explanation. The amount of times you explain to people, the amount of times you speak, the amount of times you overcome your fears, it automatically simplifies itself. You learn new ways to simplify concepts and so on. Most importantly, if you see speakers like Jordan Peterson, you see speakers like Chris Williamson, David Goggins, also, I would say, and Ashish Ranjan, ART Talks, AR Talks, by the way. These guys simplify complex topics. And once a person starts simplifying complex topics, they invoke an emotion inside the other person. And that's how they're regarded as speakers of the world. And Simplicity signals that this person understands really well. There might be a complex concept of physics in your mind, but if you're able to explain it in simple words, obviously you don't need to know the law unless it's an exam. But if you're able to explain the concept, if the other person is able to visualize it inside your head, you have won in life. You have won everything then. Kyunki you made the other person remember concept for the lifetime. And that is the impact which you bring through your communication. Now, again, interlinking one more point here. Opportunities often go to better communicators. I have told this every single time until now as well that two persons having the same knowledge have different ways of expressing. And hence, the person who is having better knowledge will, sorry, better communication with the same knowledge will get selected. No doubt in that. Because it shows that you're able to work with a team, you're able to make sure that the other party understands what you're trying to simplify. Right? It's all those points interlinked. And that helps you in networking with like people minded around you, or networking with people who are above your criteria, or you could say above your levels, because it invokes an interest in them that are able to communicate. The way I bring guests on my podcast is purely through the communication I have. Communication is a must here. Communication is a must every single where. Even if you're a tech role, you might do CMA exam, you might do some finance thing, you might be into startups. Communication is important because it builds your visibility, and that visibility leads you to leadership as well. In leadership, you ought to communicate with the team, and that's one of the most important factors in interviews, where the interviewer checks whether this person is a a person who could express freely the topic or the project in their head, right? It makes you do a better personal brand as well. Everyone has a personal brand. It's not me, or it's not all the YouTubers or the Instagram creators. You in your daily life also have a personal brand. Your mom and dad also have a personal brand among their peers, because your name carries a brand with you. Daksh Mavani carries a brand with me. Daksh Mavani carries a perception. Summarizing things, it is a skill which nobody talks about, honestly speaking. I chose this topic as well because I see in my day to day life, in my own college and my own peers, that people are not able to communicate. Their hands shiver when they are held the mic. They are not able to speak even though they know things. And it's a very strange problem, honestly, especially in the age of internet where everything and everyone are supposed to be connected. There is abundance of information, and that's one of the minus points, because you're not taught to do thinking in an organized way. The algorithms are supposed to make you feel, the algorithms are supposed to make you hook onto the reels, hook onto the shorts, hook onto the YouTube videos in such a way where you're not thinking anything. You're on an autopilot mode, scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. That hampers your manual thinking. And with the introduction of AI chatbots, honestly, everything is at your fingertips. You don't need to think anything at all. And in today's world, where tech is being replaced or everything is getting automated, communication is one thing which will never be automated, unless it does, obviously. I don't know. But your personality and communication will never get automated, most likely. And just summarizing the points which I made earlier, internet has created a stage problem. Endless information exists, and we all do surface level thinking. Consuming or doing mental masturbation feels productive, Hence, in this whole loop of consuming content, the articulation still remains weak because you're not practicing it. Knowledge accumulates inside your head. You are seeming smart, but you are not being smart. You're being dumb. And a person who has less knowledge and trying to communicate his knowledge out will be far, far better than the person who is storing knowledge inside here and not sharing it with other people. Because wisdom doesn't come from keeping the content inside you, it comes from sharing whatever you know with the people around you. And everything in communication begins with thinking. So, the goal isn't to read more books. The goal isn't at all sounding smarter. It is making your ideas visible. Because at the end of the day, nobody cares and nobody sees what's inside your head. But the world responds on the way you express and what you express. I would like to leave you with one question, and that is my understanding as well. Maybe communication was not at all about making complex things more complex. It was about making things simple and invoking emotions in other people. Thank you so much. This was the episode. Hope you have enjoyed it so far. Please do consider subscribing and making sure that you don't miss out on any sort of videos like this. If you have liked it, go to my Instagram page as well, where I post these kind of clips on all the shorts which I make, sorry, on all the podcasts which I make, and my personal page where I share my raw thinking in a similar way. Thank you so much once again.